Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful lady out of the Los Angeles area. She's an Emmy Award-winning actress, filmmaker, and writer of 30-plus years. She began at the age of 9 in a couple of commercials. You'll remember when she mentions it. She's also been in numerous TV series with Venice, Young and the Restless, Susie Effing Homemaker, All My Children, As the World Turns, Saint Elsewhere, and more. And she is back in the game with 2018 with an award-winning documentary. She'll tell you more about it. But right now, live, ladies and gentlemen, from beautiful sunny California, ladies and gentlemen, and rumor is she may have a co-guest. Ladies and gentlemen, Cady McClain. Cady, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And I'm very happy to introduce the one and only Mr. Peanut, who is here
Hello, with Peanut. Hi.
Oh, and there he is.
Hello, Mr. Peanut. And tell us who you are, Mr. Peanut, and what are you? Can you talk for us?
I kind of look like an Ewok, but really I'm just a little dog, and this is my mom, and I take care of her. So how you doing, man? Let's do this.
Hi. Yeah, we'll probably hear from you in just a minute too, and maybe you can do some dog tricks and maybe bark for us or something, and be up on the roof and sing as well too. So you're an Emmy Award-winning actress, filmmaker, and writer for 30-plus years. You began at the age of 9. You've been in a number of TV series called Venice, Young and the Restless, Susie Homemaker, All My Children, As the World Turns, Saint Elsewhere, and you also have a documentary which you've got out. It's another award-winning special called Seeing is Believing, Women Direct. And before we get to all that, tell us exactly how you got started.
I started when I was 9 years old, as you say, in Los Angeles. I had done some theater, and I told my mom I wanted to do commercials. She submitted a really horrible black and white headshot to a bunch of agents in Los Angeles. Like, it was my face reversed. I had all this stage makeup on. I could not look more like a child actress. And a wonderful, horrible agent named Iris Burton. She was the largest or the most famous child agent in Los Angeles, picked me up. She said things like, and it's kind of where Susie Effing Homemaker came from. She was a hardcore New Yorker, old school. And so she would say things like, "Let me see your teeth, honey." "Never wear that t-shirt again. Your ponytails are too high, pull them down." So she was tough. But she handled like a lot of famous kids. Like River Phoenix was one of her clients, and through her, I was able to get things. My very first commercial, as you mentioned, was a Band-Aid commercial. So I did the "I am stuck on Band-Aids" commercials.
I remember that. My goodness, it's like, and of course, I looked at When You Were Born. It's like, my goodness, I think I'm from that era. It's like, being stuck on Band-Aids. I'm like, I remember that commercial now. I don't know if I really want to sing. If I try to sing, I'd probably drive the audience away. So don't ask me to sing anything unless I had too many beers. I have to say that.
You can sing with me. "I am stuck on Band-Aids because Band-Aids stuck on me." Remember those?
Now it's coming back. We'll have to do it after a few later on or something.
Definitely. So the Band-Aids was my very, very first commercial. I was washing a horse, and it was really sweet and really fun, and I loved doing it. And so she started sending me out to more things, and one of those was a film called My Favorite Year with Peter O'Toole, and I booked that. So I'm in that film, if you remember that one, where he played the swashbuckling, "I'm not an actor, I'm a movie star."
But I'm a doctor. I only play one on TV. That type of thing.
I'm not a doctor, but I play on TV. Yes, that came later with the soaps. But he was wonderful, wonderful to work with. And I did a film called Pennies from Heaven with Steve Martin and
Oh, I
Bernadette.
love Steve Martin and Pennies from Heaven. That was fantastic. My goodness.
That was so amazing. So I was one of the children tap dancing on the white pianos in those big scenes with Bernadette. And that was really magical. That was when it was the last movie musical MGM ever made.
Oh,
And
really? Wow.
yes. And so my mom and I was 12 at the time, and we got to walk through the alleyways of MGM when they were covered with all the golden pennies from the big tap dancing scene with the golden pennies, and he sings, every time it rains, pennies from heaven. And
Remember that? Yeah, that was a great movie.
yeah. And then I got to do other things like Cheers. I worked with Woody Harrelson and St. Elsewhere. I worked with a woman named Christina Pickles, who was brilliant. I did about 5 episodes of that. And a lot of other TV shows. And when I was 17, I got a play that went to New York. And that was a play that was bound for Broadway with Bonnie Franklin called 40, written by Judith Viorst. And we did that out at the John Drew Theater in East Hampton, Long Island. And although that didn't go to Broadway, it definitely brought me to New York. And so I lived there for 25 years. And I started doing independent films and Spencer for Hire. Do you remember that TV show, Spencer for Hire?
I remember Spencer for Hire. That was one of my favorites. Oh, my goodness. Like, you're bringing back a lot of TV I remember. Makes me want to pull out the YouTube and watch it tonight after I get done with you. So, and of course, like, yes, join for pizza, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great television that's worth revisiting. They really amazing stuff. And I was just so proud to be able to be a part of that kind of golden age at that time. And then I booked All My Children when I was 19 in the late 80s. And I was on that show for quite some time and won an Emmy and was nominated for a couple more times. And that was really special. I worked with a fellow named Michael Knight. We played characters called Tad and Dixie, and we were kind of a super couple in the early 90s for some time. And David Canary was another actor that we worked with who was wonderful, and Julia Barr. And it was again, another kind of golden age of daytime television. And then I went on to work on As the World Turns, and I did like about 5 independent films during that time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. One of the films, although it was never been released, and I'm really working on them to finally release it, it was nominated for what they call a Golden Starfish at the Hamptons International Film Festival. And it's one of those stories where you're like, what would my career be like if this film had ever been released? It was a great role in a beautiful independent film. But, so it goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Please.
And of course, you talked about All My Children as well, too. What's it like working with Susan Lucci?
Susan is her own kind of world. It's she really developed a brand. She's one of the first, I think, women as actors who understood that she could turn herself into a business. And I think as a young woman watching that, I didn't quite know what I was seeing. But now as I'm older, I look back and I think, wow, that was really smart. She sold much more than just herself as an actor. She sold makeup and skincare and clothing, and she wrote a book about being Erica Kane, and she did TV movies.
I remember, yes, Erica Kane, that's right. And she also made a lot of headlines too about what she went on a 14-year run without winning an Emmy and finally got it. It's like that was big news back then.
Yes, it was. It was so funny. It was so funny. And it was part of her story, and it was just really interesting to watch how that could be, I guess, kind of spun into more conversation about her. And she was smart. She was a very smart lady in that way to really utilize all of that.
And of course, who are some of your favorite actors and actresses growing up during your day?
Oh, you see, I was a PBS nerd. So I loved a lot of shows that came out of England, like Masterpiece Theatre, or
good one.
Do you remember that? I love that. And we, of course, always binged Nicholas Nickleby, which would come on at Christmas time with Roger Rees. It was a big, like, 13-hour live play.
Uh-huh.
And I, Claudius, which was filmed basically on a soundstage with like flats, and the cameras would move around the flats. And I think those shows really influenced me later on when I became a director, and also working on soaps, because soaps has this proscenium, this, like, fourth wall, much like a theater. You're looking at this sort of a theatrical type of space where the cameras can just move up and down this one aisle. And so it really relies a lot on the writing and on the acting, because it's not like film where you can do these grand shots. It's much simpler. But when I watched I, Claudius, I saw how great acting could really compel an audience, and great storytelling could really compel an audience, and that made me feel great about being on the soaps when I was on them.
Hmm. And who are some of your favorite actors, growing up? You talked about, like, with PBS, and which ones, like, really stood out to you?
Roger Rees, Judy Dench,
Oh, I
Nicholas.
love you, Dench.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Oh, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Judy Dench is so great. Oh gosh, there's so many names. Derek Jacobi, um, the woman who played. Oh, they were all English actors, which is the funny thing. I always loved the English actors of that time, and one of the things that kind of became a problem when I was working in Los Angeles was because I I didn't really know the famous Los Angeles, like, movie stars,
Oh
which is
my
so strange.
gosh.
Isn't that strange? I've never really, like, had them on my pedestal. Although I have great respect for and think she's amazing now. Looking back at Glenn Close, I mean, the work that she's done over her career is really phenomenal. The strength and the kind of woman that she has been able to portray over time, I think that it's really remarkable. Um, and her talent is incredible. So
And,
a few.
that's amazing as well, too. We'll talk about your upcoming documentary, but first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with award-winning actress Cady McClain out of Los Angeles here on the Mike Wagner Show. We talked about some of her experience going from Venice to series, Young and Restless, Susie Homemaker, All My Children, and more. And you also have a new documentary out called Seeing is Believing, Women Direct. And tell us more about that and what inspired you to do this documentary.
When I finished, let's see, I think when I finished Young and the Restless, I had made a couple of short films in 2014, and I finished Young and the Restless in 15. And afterwards, I said, I really, really loved directing. And although I've kind of, like, I still love acting, I really wanted to pursue something new, that I hadn't really done as much of before. And I think what happened was I noticed that all these statistics started coming out about how women weren't getting hired. And I thought, it was really important to spotlight that in order to change the whole environment for women. There's sort of a saying, you can be a part of the solution or you can be a part of the problem.
Right.
And I just didn't want to sit around and complain about the problem. I wanted to do something about it. And I thought, it just kind of occurred to me one day that the best thing I could do about the problem was to show women who were very good at what they did,
Mm-hmm.
so that people could see them talking about their work. I mean, it's kind of the big problem is that thus far we haven't seen women as much as we've seen men talking about their work, talking about having a vision, having an idea, and then seeing that idea through. And so that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to show women at different stages in their career. So anyone who, of any age, woman or man, who wanted to get into this filmmaking world could find someone. And there are men that I interviewed in the film as well. They're mostly producers, but they talk about the collaborative process and about leadership and how to be on set. And the best leadership that inspires the most creativity. So my goal was to give everyone someone that they could be inspired by and get information from, and then go out and make their own work.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's really the goal.
It almost sounds like you're kind of doing this as like a resource, as saying that if you want to get into this, go to this, or if you want to get into that, go into that. Here's all the information and everything else. That's what it almost sounds like. It's almost like, in a sense, it's like a resource directory in a way.
In a way, but it's the creative process is, I'm sure like you get the seed of an idea, and then you have to figure out, just in terms of like, how do I make a podcast? What do I need? Who else has done it? How do I reach people? How does this work? And I think for women in particular, it helps to be able to see other people who have done it, or maybe even just be one step ahead of you. That just makes such a difference. They're like, oh, where's the path? Because the path is very hard to find if you're just making it up. If you just come out of, maybe if you come out of college, but maybe if you didn't go to college, like, where's the path? And I think that's what this film has. It has 4 very diverse pathways for people to find, and then a lot of other information. I don't know if you can hear Mr. Peanut snoring, but
are we that boring, Mr. Peanut? I mean, we're having a lively conversation. I mean, are we that boring, or are you thinking about milk bones or dog biscuits or chasing that rabbit? Were you preoccupied with all that, Mr. Peanut? I mean, come on, join us in the program here.
He's just keeping it real. He's just keeping it real. He's like, look, man, I got a nap. This is really important. I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, we're in this very crazy time period, and people have asked me, like, well, is this conversation, still valid, and why is this conversation still important? Or maybe I've been asking myself that as well. And I think it's because there's 2 things that I really believe in. And one is the creativity of us as human beings, and the resilience of the human spirit. And so I think no matter what it is that's happening around us, whatever the doom and gloom and fear is, we have to have we have to keep inspiring each other. We have to keep lifting each other up. We have to keep looking at shows and things that are going to give us hope, and make us remind ourselves that there's a possibility, that there is a future. So we need to keep creating however it is that we want to create. I mean, to get really interested in new ways of creating and reaching people. And I think that's what this film also is for. It's to inspire, encourage, uplift, and like you said, give people resources and tools in order to continue to create, because that's the really important thing.
And I think that's really important too. And you talk about the challenges you experience, in the film, and what kind of special challenges did you face while you're working on with Venice, Young and Restless, Susie Homemaker, All My Children? Were those the same problems you're encountering, or were there much different problems back then?
I think there are always 2 problems, right? And one is the internal problem of your own self-doubt, or your own, like, even your knowledge or your understanding. Or then the next is like, who do I know? What resources do I have? Who is going to help me make this happen? And then the third sort of obstacle is always, now or before, the people who are stoppers, who tell you, you can't do this. Why are you doing that? Why are you even trying? Who do you think you are? All of that stuff. And there's only a few of them, but for whatever reason, their voice tends to be very loud and resonant once we hear it. And it stays, like it like sticks, like all the positive, all the you can do it, all the like you're the best, like this is great, you changed my day, thanks for the help, boy, it makes me feel good to listen to you, like all of that. It's like you've got to print that out and put it on your wall because the mind just doesn't want to seem to grip onto it. The one person who is like, oh, man, what are you doing? Why do you try? Like that just is like,
Uh-huh.
That I think probably was one of the greatest obstacles. The few people who gave me a really hard time.
Uh-huh. And of course, Hollywood's changed that as well too. And compare with the Hollywood back then with the Hollywood now, especially the Me Too movement, which has really, really changed everything. And do you think the Me Too movement has changed Hollywood for the better or for the worse?
Well, I can say, as someone who grew up during the 70s and 80s in Hollywood, there was a predatory nature, predatory towards children, young women. It's one of the reasons I had to get out of here. There's a certain, I say the coyotes are not just in the hills. They're walking the streets in human bodies. And there are people who are here that, like moths that gravitate to the light. So if you're a creative person, it's not just women. If you're a creative person, or if you're a young woman or man, you got to watch out for whatever you want to call them, moths, vampires, coyotes, pick a metaphor, but those people who want to drain your energy and like live off your light. So the Me Too movement was really important because what was the problem was that was just expected. And there was a culture of silence around the predators, because sometimes those predators were very powerful people. And so it was just sort of understood, and you either sucked it up and laughed it off, or, you had to leave the business because there was it was very slow to have we had these sexual harassment seminars. I remember in the 90s when they had them, people laughed. They're like, oh, I'm not going to that. That's ridiculous. How silly. How silly. Do they even know how we talk around here? Because it was, you just had to adapt. You had to handle it. And so when Me Too started, at least for me, I mean, it was a huge relief. It was also incredibly upsetting because so many things had happened to me. So many. And then it's been sort of miraculous and wonderful to be able to see the people who were really taking advantage, like Harvey Weinstein, get their comeuppance. It was a huge relief to have Hollywood finally say, you know what, this behavior is unacceptable. This behavior is beneath us. We're what Hollywood is supposed to stand for is, incredible creativity and great storytelling and, powerful stories that help change the world. And to have that also be a part of our culture, and have it be insidious in the news as well as everything else, it was just really, it just made the job so much harder. And so I think it's a great relief. And I think a lot of people are just really happy, men and women, to just have that bit of the environment kind of handled and like acknowledge that does not help us do our job.
Mm-hmm. And of course, speaking of doing jobs as well, too, with you being a director, who are some of your favorite directors working with, and who are some of your favorite directors growing up?
Oh my gosh, boy, that's a big question. I've never been very good at favorites. I can say,
or should we say what directors are influenced you?
Sally Potter is an English director who did a film called Orlando. And I will never forget seeing that film because it was a movie about a woman, about a soul who traveled through time, who sometimes was female and sometimes was male. And
remember watching that movie. That was fantastic. And I'm trying to remember the name of the actress, and she was on one of the Lord of the Rings. I can't remember the name right now. She was fantastic.
Hold on. She is still great. She's works all the time. My husband is so good with these things. Um, of course, I Google Orlando and it comes up Orlando, Florida. Hi, Orlando, Florida. Thanks a lot.
Not want to be right now, unless you're Mickey Mouse.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. Cast. Who's this great actress? Tilda Swinton.
That's the name. Yeah, she's fantastic. My gosh. And I think she was in another movie before that, and she was just amazing.
She is so good. Everything she does is amazing. And she's an artist, you know? I mean, she really is an artist in her approach to her work and in the projects that she chooses. I think as if she ever directed, she'd be an amazing director. She's just a very unique and interesting person. Yeah, I'm a great admirer of her.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And of course, we'll talk about what's coming up for 2020 for you as well, too. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with Emmy Award-winning actress, filmmaker, and writer of over 30 years, Cady McClain, here on the Mike Wagner Show. We talked about some of her work beginning at the age of 9. Also, she was in Venice, the series, Young and Restless, Susie Homemaker, All My Children, As the World Turns, and more. We also talked about some of her upcoming documentaries, Seeing is Believing, Women Direct, and we also got into some things about with some of the issues going on in Hollywood. And also when it comes to directing projects, what do you have coming up for 2020?
Well, I'm actually working on a couple of things. I'm attached to a couple of films. They're tough to talk about, I think, because we're not quite at that point of doing press, but I am attached to direct a couple of feature films, which is really, really exciting. And I would love to mention, too, I wrote a book called Murdering My Youth about growing up in Los Angeles. And
yes, let's talk about that. But first, let's finish up the question. Then we'll talk about Murder My Youth. I'm glad you so brought that up.
Yeah. So, 2020, it's a very interesting year. It's one of those years where I think you have to really reinvent yourself and look at what other projects you can create that you may not have to have other people to shoot. I am working on a podcast with interviews from all the women that I interviewed in video. So Leslie Linka Glatter, who is the EP director of Homeland, Sarah Gavron, who directed Suffragette, and a new movie coming out I think it's out now, called Rocks, out of England. Naima Ramos Chapman, who's just really incredible. She did the series called Random Acts of Flyness on HBO. And all of these women have so much to say and so much to share. So I'll probably be spending a little bit of time doing some audio editing. Maybe I'll call you for some tips.
Oh, nice. Okay. And what's the name of the podcast?
Hearing is Believing.
Hearing is Believing. Where can we find Hearing is Believing?
Well, I'm still working on it, so I'll have to let you know. Just maybe check out the Seeing is Believing Women Direct website, and then you'll get the news there. Or on Twitter. I'm Cady McClain on Twitter. Yeah.
Seeing is Believing and Hearing is Believing. And if you're hungry, Tasting is Believing, the brand new cooking show.
What a good idea. We should do that. I like that.
Hey, anything is possible, thanks to the internet, social media, and of course with your filming projects as well, too. It seems like it's a lot easier nowadays to have it on Netflix or YouTube or Hulu or anything, instead of having it the old way, like on ABC, CBS, and NBC. It seems like there's more outlets to present anyone's works, including yours.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of the internet and what's possible, and just being able to reach people, I think, is the big opportunity. You know, if you can build your audience, as you know, and like find people and connect with them and help them have a better day, I think that's a beautiful thing.
It does sound like a beautiful thing, and I'd like to have you back on. We'll talk more about your latest projects, your podcast, and a little bit about your book, Murder My Youth, and tell us more about that and where can we find it?
That's on Amazon actually, and it's one of their bestsellers, which is really exciting, and it's done really well. And it's just a story about growing up in show business in Los Angeles in that strange little time, and being a child actress. It was a very unique experience, I can tell you for sure.
And of course, going back early as well, too, you were on Cheers and you were with Woody Harrelson. What's it like working with Woody Harrelson? And also Shelley Long was in there, and I'm trying to remember. And I think there was Kelsey. I think Kelsey Grammer was in that one. It's been a while since I watched it. Oh, and George Wendt too. One of my favorites from Chicago.
Oh yeah, and Ted Danson.
Danson, who could forget? That's my coffee.
I know, right? So good. It was magical. I was 16 years old, and it was shooting at Paramount Studios. I saw Leonard Nimoy in The Commissary, which was so cool because I was a huge Star Trek fan. So I freaked out.
Is he logical?
He seemed very logical. He was directing at the time. I was like, wow. I didn't give him the hand sign though. I was like, dude, I don't want to do the hand sign. But no, he didn't. He was very serious guy. But it was amazing. I mean, what an opportunity for a young woman, to come in and do an episode of that. So I played Coach's niece. There was Coach. He was like sort of the main bartender there. His niece Joyce Pantuso. And it was amazing. It was so much fun. Such nice people.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun on that show too, and of course, makes me want to have a beer. And every time I go into Cheers, where everyone knows your name, and I still remember that song. Everyone knows your name.
That's right. That's right.
And of course, we talked about what's coming up in 2020 as well too. And just a couple of things here with Cady McClain here on the Mike Wagner Show. We'd love to have you back on again soon. You're fantastic. What do you consider we talked about some of the funny moments, and what would you say your funniest or most embarrassing moment you had on the screen or on TV? And it can be funny if you want.
Oh man, the most embarrassing moment was I was working with my husband. I'm married to a fellow. His name is John Lindstrom. He's an actor and a filmmaker and writer. And he and I met on the set of As the World Turns. And we were working together. And, I've been really working on this, but I do have an occasional problem with swearing. So.
Oh, God. Gosh darn it.
And so something happened, and I was like, oh, swear word, 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 swear word. And he said, Cady, there's a church group here visiting, and they're on set across the hallway there, like, so behind the camera. So here's the set, here are the cameras, here are the kids. And I was like, oh God, oh my God. I was horrified.
I'm like, holy crap, we got somebody here today.
Exactly. I was like, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it was, they were all shocked. It was quite something.
At least you got to experience what's on the set too. And good thing the language did not air on TV as well too. So I'm glad they must have edited out. So
yeah, definitely. The cameras were not rolling. Thank God.
Oh, that's so amazing. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Biggest influence in my career. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind would be my mom. She died when I was 25. Yes. And she got cancer when I was 17. And so, when I was 18, I was like, you know what, let me just take care of you. I was working on an independent film, and at the time, and I thought, I have to change my career to take care of my mother. What am I going to do?
Right.
I can't just, pursue acting and do theater and independent film and, TV or whatever. I can't think about myself. I have to take care of her. So that's when I thought about soaps. I said, soaps are like the most steady job that you can think of for an actor. And I just started to just call my agent and say, get me soap auditions. And that's how I ended up on soaps for a while. And then when she passed, the soap family had definitely become like family to me. And so I just kind of like needed to stay there for the stability, for some time. And then it's kind of been this sort of on again, off again stability throughout my life. And I'm very, very grateful for it. And so even though it was like a horrible moment and a horrible thing that happened and sort of took me off the path that I sort of thought I would go on, she also made me promise not to pursue directing.
Oh, yes, but maybe you defied it. But I mean, look at the path. You're doing a really nice job of it, and looking forward to more what you got. We can talk more about it. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
I would say, don't let yourself be discouraged by circumstances. Just try to think radically about outside the box, like that, as they say. I know it's such a cliche, but like to think about where you can take your idea. Maybe it isn't necessarily going to be in the way that you thought it was going to be, but like pivot. That word has been so helpful to me. And then be tenacious. Ask for help. Ask people for advice. Reach out to people. Write the people that you love that have inspired you. Somebody who you might think may never write you back. Now is a great time to write them and say, "Hey, I love your work. I love what you stand for. Do you have any advice for me?" Like, make that connection. Reach out to people, because really, like, this world is made up of people, and we are here to help each other ultimately. And so that's what I would say.
And reaching out to people is very, very important. I'm glad you mentioned. Once again, Cady McClain, Emmy Award-winning actress, filmmaker, writer, over 30 years on the Mike Wagner Show. She's got a new documentary, Seeing is Believing, Women Direct. Thank you very much for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? And where can people purchase your book, Murder My Youth? And where can people check out your documentary and other works?
Oh, my goodness. So Cady McClain is my name, and I always say Cady like lady with a C, Cady, and McClain like John McClane in Die Hard. That helps people remember it. So CadyMcClain.com or seeingisbelieving.com or at Cady McClain on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You'll be able to find me and all the updates about my projects. Seeing is Believing, WomenDirect.com is right now streaming on Seed and Spark, which is a small but mighty website that has fantastic films by women and diverse people. It's really a terrific, terrific site. And also with Collective Eye, if you're an educator and you're looking for this to bring this film to your school, library, organization, or institution, you can go to collectiveeye.org. Just please come and find me on Twitter and Instagram. I would love to say hello. I love talking to people.
Sounds great, Cady. Thank you very much. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep this up to date. We love to have you back sometime in 2020 and beyond that. You've been great.
Thank you so much, Mike. This has been a pleasure.